Greetings, everyone. I'm Tim Anderson, aka Renfail, and welcome to the latest episode of my ongoing EverQuest 2 series here on YouTube. And today I am discussing one of my favorite topics, which is whether or not the free to play version of this game is worth it, or should you be paying for a subscription? Now, I will also be doing a follow-up video to this, which analyzes the subscription model and whether or not the Daybreak All Access Pass is worth it for you. But today it's all about the free-to-play version and whether or not you should pay or not to pay. So, before we dive in though, prerequisite stuff here. If this is your first time tuning in and you like this video, let me know. Hit that like button, smash it. Leave a comment below, and of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you get updates for all of the future content I do here on YouTube, which is way more than just EverQuest 1 and 2 videos. And of course, if you want to join us on the Antonia Bale server, you can. We have a guild called the Raven Syndicate. I'm the guild master. You can join our Discord, find the links below, and there's an EverQuest 2 section where you can hit us up for a guild invite. And yes, this is an old normal server, so you can totally join us as a free-to-play individual. We have several people in the guild who are on the free-to-play accounts. You don't need a subscription to play on the AB server, so feel free to come and join us if you are a free-to-play person. All right, let's dive in. I think for me, the number one thing you have to pay attention to is whether or not quality of life features mean anything to you and how much time you're going to be putting into the game. So I want to use my wife, Cris, as an example of an individual who probably will never need to pay for a subscription if she had it on her own. Now, obviously, because I have two accounts, I do pay for subscription on both because I play a lot and I box, but she only plays once a week on Saturday mornings for about an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours, but usually we're in the hour to hour and a half bracket. Since she's a new player who has never played an MMORPG before other than a very brief stint in World of Warcraft Classic, and she's only been playing for a few weeks, we're only in our teens, we're not using mercenaries, and we're playing a very old school experience with no XP pots and no bonuses, no perks. I'm taking her through the classic game experience. And since she's only playing once a week, and none of these perks mean anything to her because she's not trying to advance through the game rapidly, there's no need for her to pay a subscription. If that's the type of player you are, then I would say that you don't need to worry about it. The nice thing about the way the free-to-play is set up in EverQuest 2 is that you can explore the entirety of the game up to the most recent expansion without having to pay a dime if you don't want to. Obviously, if you want to play the most recent content, you'll need to pony up and pay for that, but otherwise you can play everything up to that point. And pretty much at that point, it just becomes a matter of how often are you playing and how many quality of life features do you want or need to have. So here's a couple of examples. As a free-to-play account, you only get 2 characters. So if you're only ever going to explore 1 or 2 different characters, that's enough. If you have altitis and you need to have lots of different characters and lots of different alts because you like having different things for roleplay purposes, then you're probably going to want to go with a subscription. And I say this because you can buy one-off character slots, but they cost $10 per character slot. Meanwhile, the subscription is only $15 a month, unless you pay for multiple blocks, and then you get a discount, and you get unlimited characters. So that's one of those things where if you have altitis, probably you're going to want a subscription, versus if you don't have altitis and you only ever play 1 or 2 characters, you're not going to need to worry about a subscription. You could totally exist on a free-to-play account. Some of the other things are typical limitations, like, for example, you can't use the broker or the auction hall in this game unless you're a member, unless you're a subscriber. You can buy one-off tokens from the Daybreak store for cash, which allow you to use the broker. So that's one of those things where if you just don't ever worry about the broker, but one day you decide that you want that feature, you can purchase it for that account. There's also limitations on the chat, and that's mostly to combat spam. So things like you can't shout in a zone, you can't use the auction channel, and so on and so forth if you're on a free-to-play account. The other thing that I really appreciate and I think is a fun feature, I know it annoys some people, but I like it, is that if you look at the alternate advancement here. If you're not familiar with alternate advancement, it's just it's another way to enhance your character with these special perks and abilities. Now, if you're on a free-to-play account, it's automatically locked at 50%. If I can get it on 50, I can't. I'm not going to mess with it too much. Which means 50% of your experience beyond level 10 is automatically going to divert to earning you these alternate advancement points, which are then put into perks for your character. If you are on a subscription account like I am, you can actually adjust this slider wherever you want and have however much of a percentage of your adventuring experience going to AA that you want, which is really handy if you're trying not to rush through the game and you're doing a progression guild like we are. We have very specific goals. For example, we're getting ready to do the Rise of Kunark expansion starting in January 2022, and so we are level locking at 80 so that we don't get experience beyond level 80 and that we can level lock to make that content as close to the original difficulty as possible without being too skewed out of balance. You cannot level lock in that method if you are on a free-to-play account, because you're always going to be earning 50% of that adventure experience. The only way to do that at that point is to go down here and completely disable combat experience, which at that point you're not earning any adventuring experience, which means you're not even earning anything for your AA at all. So that's the only way to do it on the free-to-play. And I say that's a limitation because it's one of those quirky things where I don't mind that, because it's kind of like a thing where if you're really dedicated into the game and you know you want to lock for a specific type of content, there are multiple ways to do it, but the best way is always going to be for the subscribers, which I think is fine. That's a reason why you would want to subscribe. Another thing is that on the free-to-play accounts, you only can ever get your spell abilities or your abilities up to the master level. Now, what does that mean? Well, if you look at your abilities here, they have different tiers of levels. Like this is an apprentice versus, let's see if I have any adepts. That's a rank 5. That's an apprentice. I have some things that are masters, other ones that aren't, so on and so forth. But there are tiers like apprentice, adept, master. I think the other one is, I forget, ancient. So you cannot go beyond master on a free-to-play account. Does that matter? Absolutely not. The only people who care about the beyond master level are the people who are at the top tier of the game, who are raiding regularly and require you to have the absolute best abilities possible in the game, maxed out. That's never going to be you if you're a free-to-play individual, because you're probably going to be playing the game very casually. You're not going to be into raiding. You're not going to be into hardcore dungeons or hardcore group content or PvP or any of those things. So needing beyond master level abilities probably isn't going to be a reality for you. If it is, then you're going to want to go for a subscription, because it's the only way to get access to them. There are other content restrictions on free-to-play, but not in terms of the content of the game. What there is there are fabled versions of classic dungeons. So if you're on a free-to-play account, you can play the classic version of those dungeons, no problems. But if you want to play the fabled version of those dungeons, which is a higher tier of that dungeon with better loot and better gear, and it's designed for kind of max level players, you only get access to that if you are a subscriber. So that's one of those other things that's like, you know what, it's not that big of a deal if you don't have it. It's just that that's a limitation of the free-to-play account. So as long as you're not planning on doing raids or hardcore content or any of that stuff, it's not going to be that big of a deal. And of course, you can only create a guild if you're on an all-access plan, which that's kind of standard for many games. Like you can join a guild, won't matter. But if you want to create a guild, then you actually have to join. So those are some of the limitations on the free-to-play versus the subscription. Again, the value is going to be largely up to you, but I always lean in favor of hours played. If you're someone like Chris, who's only going to play 1 or 2 hours a week, free-to-play is probably going to be the best option for you. And if you don't care about having lots of alts, then free-to-play is going to be the best option for you. If you're going to play a lot, if you're going to want alts, if you're going to plan on raiding or anything else, then you're probably going to want to go for the subscription, which we're going to talk about the subscription in a completely different video. So Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you get updates for when that video and other videos go live here on YouTube. And of course, don't forget, if you want to join us, you can. We're on the Antonio Bale server. Links to our Discord channel are down below. You can come hang out with us there and play with us in EverQuest too. Thanks everybody for your time. Appreciate it. Hope everybody's staying safe, stay healthy, and I will see you in the next episode.